Hi everyone, I'm Attorney Poonam Minhas. I practice U.S. immigration law all over the United States. Today I wanted to talk about trends, policy updates, and different things that have been happening under the current Trump administration. And this would cover from June 2025 up until November 2025. Now I do have a YouTube video up, which I have mentioned the link in the description section, where I cover President Trump's immigration moves from January 2025 to June 2025. So now this is a newer update covering June to November. So stay tuned and watch. But before I jump into this topic, if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. Hit that bell icon to stay updated on anything I post on U.S. immigration law. And hit that like button if you enjoyed today's topic. And any other videos that I've posted, please hit the like button because it's going to make its way to people that you never know who it might help, whether it's you, a family member, a neighbor, a friend. It could help anyone. Thank you so much. So let's talk about the first trend. I have been swamped with consultations from individuals who have either filed their N-400 applications pro se, meaning by themselves without the help of an attorney, or with an attorney, and that ultimately led to a denial. And I've noticed that there have been instances where these type of cases have been denied because there are arrests or convictions or issues within either the 5-year statutory period or the 3-year statutory period, or even beyond that. So good moral character is being looked at carefully. Now, this goes into the policy that came out. If you're not familiar with the policy and what they're talking about, I did make a video about that. It's in the description section. Make sure to hit the link to check that video out where I talk about the new policy about good moral character. And not only that, it also talks about how they're approaching it and what they're really looking for. But now fast forward, they are also looking past the statutory period. So everyone thinks, okay, well, I've been good for the past 5 years and I've been a green card holder. I'm going to file for citizenship because what is it? It's just an application. No. So if you even have arrests, convictions, or matters outside of that 5-year, 3-year statutory period, USCIS may use their discretion to deny the N-400 application. Now it gets even more interesting. A couple of my other consultations, I've noticed that when things happen like after an interview or even prior to an interview, you may have received a request for evidence or a notice of continuance after the interview or a notice of intent to deny. And USCIS is asking for something. Hey, we need to know about arrest number 4, or we don't have this disposition and we have a record based on something that happened to you back in 2018. So where is the paperwork for that? And I've seen responses which were very alarming where unrelated documents, so something that is completely unrelated to what USCIS is asking for, is being sent to them, and that's leading to a denial. So not only did you not respond to what they were looking for, but now you gave them more information, which now questions your good moral character. And that may lead to a denial, and that becomes a problem. And then everyone's just wondering, oh my God, do I apply for the appeal? Or do I refile? And that's a very good question. If you find yourself at a stage where you're like, okay, I have this notice of intent to deny or RFE, like what can I do? Maybe it might be best to consult with an experienced immigration attorney to see how you could still save your N-400 application case. Or if you are really confused as to what happened and what you want to do, schedule a consultation, figure out what your options are. But remember, in order to really get a better understanding of what happened, you may want to be able to share your documents so the attorney can read everything and see, okay, where things went wrong, or maybe you need to look at things in a different manner, or maybe you need to provide things to make it look like, I am a person of good moral character, or maybe this might be a mistake. It all depends. So be very careful. I've seen a lot of trends lately with USCIS denying N-400 applications based on good moral character, or you've engaged in an unlawful act, and that's why you don't get citizenship, and other matters that may come up even outside of the statutory period. So be very careful. Another thing I want to mention is that on or after October 20th, if you filed for the citizenship application, now you are going to be held responsible to know the new testing that they're doing for the civics. So before it was about 6 out of 10 questions. That's not the case anymore. So to help you out, I have mentioned the link in the description section. So please go check it out. It mentions the new testing that they're doing if you filed your application on or after October 20th of this year. So that is another change that has come about after they also mentioned how they're going to strictly look at good moral character and really expand on that. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is the annual asylum fee. Now, I'm not talking about the asylum application fee, which you could read about that later, where asylum applications were free and now the new ones require filing a filing fee with it, which for $100. But we're talking about the annual asylum fee. So everyone was panicking and they're like, oh, do we have to pay this $100 with USCIS or with EOIR? And I know for a while, EOIR did not have a drop down for the annual fee. It was actually just for the initial application fee, and it caused a lot of chaos and it caused a lot of stress. But I do want to mention that there is a lawsuit in place, and there is a section on the USCIS page where it says, you know what, we've paused sending notices for the annual asylum fee. And I have that link in the description section so you could check it out. But if you've already paid the $100 to USCIS for your pending affirmative asylum for that annual fee that they're looking for to keep your application pending, you're not going to get a refund. So that's another thing I want to talk about. It's up there. And if there's any changes to that, it'd always be wise to check back on the USCIS page, or, read up and see if there's any changes in that litigation that came about from the annual asylum fee. And, it ties into both the fee that needs to be paid with USCIS or with the immigration court, also known as EOIR. So let's talk about the government shutdown. What has it impacted? Not only did it impact international travel, but it also impacted domestic travel. And, everything is a mess. But it also caused issues with the employment immigration world because Department of Labor was not accepting applications. So when the government shutdown happens, it impacts certain government agencies. Now, USCIS is still operating because they run on the fees that are given to them. And, under the first Trump administration, the non-detained dockets were not going forward. But now under the current administration, they are going forward. So that was an interesting change that I saw under this time around under the current shutdown. But the other part of that is, luckily on October 31st, 2025, Department of Labor did make an announcement that they were accepting applications. And it was kind of like a really great thing, because a lot of the attorneys, including myself, were very nervous about, oh my God, how are we going to file this on the website on Flag? Like, how are we going to get the perm application filed? Or how are we going to get the prevailing wage determination done? So that was a little bit of a relief, but I'm sure it caused a lot of stress and concerns for a lot of people from the time frame that Department of Labor was not accepting those applications. So that's linked in the description section if you want to check that out and see their announcement. Again, I do want to mention, and I've mentioned this in the description section, but I want to say it now, is that this video is for informational purposes only. Nothing on this video should be construed as legal advice. Always, always make sure if you are filing your applications with whichever government agency that you know about the current procedure, policy, and make sure you have all the current information before you go ahead and file. So please do not take any of this as legal advice. This is just for informational purposes. All right, we are almost at the finish line. One of the other things we know is that denials with USCIS were leading to NTAs, which is a notice to appear in immigration court. And that process is called deportation proceedings or removal proceedings, right? We know that. There were announcements about that soon as President Trump took office. That's what we learned about. And you can catch that in my January to June video that I had posted about what was happening in the policy changes. But another thing I want to mention, another thing that I'm seeing a lot is that even if there isn't a denial, so you have a pending case, whether it's an adjustment of status or related to a family-based petition or a VAWA application, those cases, believe it or not all of them, but some of them are getting notices to appear. Yes, even while the case is pending. And everyone's like, what's going on? It is definitely stressful. I can understand that, but it is happening. That is a trend that's going on. And if you find yourself in that situation, work with an experienced immigration attorney, schedule a consultation to see how that issue could be rectified or what needs to be done now that you've been NTA'd to go to court. So be aware of what's going on and, check your alien numbers, check on the immigration hotline number. I've mentioned the number in the description section and also the website where you could check your information to see if you have a case pending with the court and which court you need to appear at, what time, whether it's a master, whether it's an individual, and before what judge. So be aware of what's going on around you, whether it's for you, a family member, and just know, I now need to handle this situation. And how can I do this? I need somebody to help me. And that might be an experienced immigration attorney. So the final matter I wanted to talk about went into effect on November 3rd, 2025. And this policy update is about U visas. So before this policy came out, what was happening was if a person crossed the border, right, and ultimately they became eligible to file for the U visa, they were a victim of crime and their application was approved, that approved U visa was being presented as paroled or admitted for the purposes of getting the adjustment of status for the green card. But now this new policy that came out on November 3rd states, well, can't do that anymore. Which means that if you have an alternative way to try to adjust to get the green card and you have the approved U visa, then you may still be able to get that green card. But now going forward, you can't say, all right, well, the U visa is going to act as paroled or admitted. So they have made that very clear in the policy. It might sound confusing. It might be something that you would have to read a few times, but that link is in the description section. And I do want to mention just recently, someone I know who had a pending adjustment of status for about a year, and they were on an approved U visa, and a similar situation, they had crossed the border. The U visa was being presented on their adjustment of status as them being paroled, even though they weren't technically, but that's what was being argued. They were able to successfully get the green card, but now going forward, that may not be the case. And, work with an immigration attorney if you are in a similar situation where you're not at the stage of filing the adjustment of status yet, or you just started your process of the U visa and you're confused about the new policy, and maybe you had come into the country a different way versus through a visa. This is the time to really ask yourself, hey, do I need to set up a consultation with an experienced immigration attorney, or can I just speak to my current attorney that I'm working with to really get to the bottom of this and see if it applies to me? So this is something important. It's very new. A lot of people didn't know about it. It did come out, I believe, on a Sunday. So I think that's the last thing people really want to know. But I wanted to bring it to your attention because it's either you or someone you know who is on a U status or applied for a U status. And they are either in the process or they're probably at the final stages, and you want to see how that impacts it. But again, every case is different. Every circumstances are different. And, it's always best to be aware of all of the policy updates and new changes, especially under the current, Trump administration. Things are moving very quickly in terms of changes. And, some application processes, believe it or not, are also moving a little fast, but some are being delayed because There's a lot of checking on security and vetting, and it's just a situation where I think it's just getting confusing, and having the right guidance and explanation and clarification is definitely needed during this time. So again, I just want to say thank you to all of you who have been following me from the beginning or just recently joined. I appreciate it. It really gets me going. So again, please subscribe if you haven't. I know I've said this a million times in almost every video, but subscribe, and it's only going to benefit you. You know, I'm bringing this information to you, and hit that bell icon, because when you do that, you'll know, okay, she posted a video and it's about a new update, or maybe I can forward this to somebody. Hit the like button, please, because if you're watching this and you're here till the end, great. You know, that means you were engaged, you really learned something. Hit the like button and really, share this with friends and family, because you never know who this might help. And we want to make sure we're helping as many people as possible. And hey, listen, if you want to drop a general comment below, please do. Please make sure it's nothing specific to your case. For that, you need to schedule a consultation. Thank you again. This is Attorney Poonam Minhas signing off, and I will be back soon with more updates.